Hey everyone, I'd like to tell you about a new podcast that FBC is starting for FBC people called Ask the Elders Anything, which you might have guessed it is the podcast in which you can ask the elders anything. Do you got a question about the Bible? Do you got a question about theology or marriage or parenting? Well, this is the podcast where you can ask us those questions. I'll ask them to the elders and they will give you their answers. Some of you might remember we did, I think maybe 2 years ago now, we did a little something called Coffee with Randy and Earl during our normal Sunday sermon series, in which you asked us questions and Randy and Earl did their best to answer them right up there with all of us as a congregation. It was awesome. It gave us a chance to kind of hear some things that normally we don't get to touch on in depth in the expositional Sunday sermons we do, because they don't always just fit neatly into the text. So this is the opportunity to do that same sort of thing. We had a huge response when that happened. I remember I got like 60 emails the first week of different questions that you guys had all across the board, and it felt bad that we weren't able to answer all of them. Well, this is the opportunity to get more in depth into those questions and more. So please send them your way. It can be about anything. Do you want to know if Bruce favors the North Galatian or the South Galatian theory when it comes to that letter's provenance? Well, send it in. Do you want Earl to explain the Trinity to you in 2 minutes or less? Do you want to know what Randy thinks the Seahawks are going to do on the offensive line this year, or how often Tom Absher thinks you should get your oil changed? Well, send in those questions as well. We want to do some fun ones, but we also want to do some serious or weighty matters, just kind of whatever is on your heart. That's what we hope this podcast can help you with. For example, first episode is going to be Randy and Bruce. They're going to be the first two elders who are our guests on the podcast, and I'm going to ask them to tell me what was the most difficult season of their marriage and what have they learned from it. I don't know what they would say. I'm looking forward to hearing their answer. I think it's something that all of us in different ways can learn from. So how do you ask your questions? Well, if you're watching this on social media, there's probably a link associated with the post. You can click on that. It'll take you to the Ask the Elders Anything page on the FBC website. You can submit your questions there and they'll come to me. Or you can just go directly to fbctacoma.org, find the Ask the Elders Anything button, and again, submit your questions there. Now, I should say in advance, just kind of like with Randy and Earl, we might not be able to answer all of your questions here in this first season. The elders have these deep wells of wisdom that they are drawing from. And what that means is sometimes they can be a little long-winded, right? So some of these we might get in depth with these questions and we might have to wait till later seasons to answer yours, or we might just follow up with you individually. But either way, please send us your questions. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully you can download and listen to this podcast. In mid-July, it'll be available on iTunes. You could stream it on Spotify or Google Play, pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts, you'll be able to have access to this. And yes, I know some of you would like us to mail you cassettes. We might be able to work that out as well. So any way you can, we'd love you to be able to hear from these men who have had their minds shaped by Scripture, who have had the wisdom that comes from years of walking with people in ministry through various seasons of life, and knowing real struggles, real joy, and just the depth of their knowledge that comes from that. I think it's something that we can all benefit from. So I look forward to reading your questions. I look forward to asking your questions. I look forward to all of us being able to learn together through this. So ask away.